Good morning, everybody. Best effing dad here. Today's April 12th, and I'm going to talk about this new Omicron subvariant called XE. Omicron XE. It sounds like a car. I don't know. I think it comes with satellite radio, leather seats. Not sure. But what is Omicron XE? Should you be worried? What is the deal, right? So this is different than stealth Omicron. So you have Omicron, that's BA1, and then you have stealth Omicron, which is BA2. And stealth Omicron lost a couple of signals. That's why they had to run extra tests to identify it. So Omicron XE is what's called a recombinant virus. In other words, somebody at some point had both BA1 and BA2 in their systems at the same time, and both BA1 and BA2 were in the same cell at the same time. And during the replication process, the genomic sequences of the virus combined together, and that's called a recombinant. And now it's got pieces of BA1 and BA2 and has features that are different. So now it's called XE. That's a recombinant virus. Recombination is a known event in the virus world. These are things that can happen. So, as opposed to a random mutation, right? So we've had alpha, beta, delta was the Indian subvariant that really caused a lot of problems for us back last fall. So that's just random mutation. This is a recombinant, two different virus subvariants combining together to create a new virus, a new variant, I should say. So it was first identified in UK back in January. So it's been around since January, and in that time, around mid-March, there was about 630 or so cases in the UK. As of last week, it's up to 1,200 or so cases in the UK. It has now spread to Thailand, to Japan, a couple other countries, and yes, Omicron XE is now in the United States. There is not one, not two, three cases of Omicron XE. Now, why are you giggling, Dr. V? Well, it's too early to say anything, but I thought this was interesting enough to make a COVID update because, one, it's got a new form of science to it that hasn't been discussed before, the recombination of viruses. I thought that was kind of cool. But it's about 10% more contagious than Omicron, 10%. And that is enough, I think, to eventually take over. Now, what's happening, today's April 12th, there is a surge, an early start of a surge that's happening in the northeastern United States. I said this in earlier videos. I said, look for mid-April, beginning of May, there's going to be another surge in the United States. It's happening, and it's happening up in the Northeast, New York State, Massachusetts, Boston, Jersey, and yes, Washington, D.C. and Virginia. You're seeing, the politicians coming down with it. And this is stealth Omicron. What's happening right now in Massachusetts and New York is stealth Omicron, okay? And also the numbers are going up in Colorado. And there are a couple of other spot places like in Kentucky and Western Texas, but the Northeast is kind of the predominant one along with Colorado, and that's all stealth Omicron. And remember we talked about the Omicron surge in Europe, and then it came down, and I was like, it didn't go down very far, y'all. I was like, and it came back up again. That's also all stealth Omicron. And now there's this new Omicron XE. Will it have an effect? We don't know yet, because one, there's a lot of infection in the community. A lot of people have post-infection immunity, and that immunity will last probably 6 to 9 months, and then we have post-vaccination immunity, and that's actually showing to be longer lasting than post-infection immunity, despite what the naysayers will say. And yes, a new study came out a couple weeks ago in New England Journal of Medicine that says ivermectin has no benefit, damn it, against COVID, all right? So that's another randomized prospective article that's been peer-reviewed, published in New England Journal of Medicine, showing that ivermectin has no benefit against COVID. Okay, so that came out a couple weeks ago. So the current surge in Europe is stealth Omicron. Now, what I'm wondering, and you're probably wondering too, is what's happening in China, right? The source of the entire pandemic. What does the Chinese government know that we don't know? They locked down Shanghai. I mean, how big is Shanghai? 25 million people, like twice the size of New York City. And Guangzhou, they locked down both of those. And why? For a few cases, I mean, they are literally locking down and workers in their offices. They're sleeping in their offices. They're separating babies from their parents. They're locking people in their apartments. People are like starting to complain about not having food. Now, why? If COVID has been around with us for 2 years, and they have all of the DNA, they're the ones who published. Remember, the Chinese are the ones who published the sequence, the genomic sequence for coronavirus. They know about it. So why are they locking down? You know, they've got vaccines. They have their China Sinovac vaccine. Why are they still locking down Shanghai? Think about that. So does it have something to do with stealth Omicron? Does it have something to do with Omicron XE? What do they know that we don't know? Now you're probably sitting there thinking, well, Dr. V, you sound like a conspiracy theorist. It doesn't matter. I've been telling y'all for months, we live in a post-vaccinated world. You can choose or not choose. I'm boosted. Erica's boosted. My 5-year-old is vaccinated. My teenager is boosted. I'm 49. I technically don't qualify for the 4th shot, the 2nd booster. I'm healthy. I don't have any medical issues. I'm thin. My BMI is like 21. So I might not get the 4th booster. Erica's only 30, so she doesn't qualify for the 4th shot. Probably won't get it. Philadelphia is the first major United States city to reimpose indoor mask mandates. That's coming. You know that's coming back to New York, LA, etc. Texas, maybe not. But eventually you have to do what's right for you. And it's mitigation of risk mitigation. So when Omicron, stealth Omicron, when the surge hits Houston, I'll go back to indoor, mask. I still wear masks indoors. It's like when I grocery shop, etc. And we sit outside when we have restaurants as much as possible. But you might have seen pictures of me at the Grammys a couple weeks ago. And that was a big ass stadium, and probably 10,000 people and very few masks in the audience. I wasn't wearing masks in the audience, and we had to show proof of vaccination and proof of PCR negative test within 48 hours. Mine was 24. You can only do what you can do. Now, were there some people who might have, snuck in without a test or without vaccination? I'm sure there were. But that's just the world we live in. It's risk mitigation moving forward. So I want to do this video on Omicron XE. One, the science is different. It's not a random mutation. It's the BA1, BA2 combining. I thought that was cool. 10% more contagious. And symptoms are still probably mild. It's too early to tell, but probably very similar to Omicron. And that's why it's a subvariant, not a whole new variant, because it appears to be very similar. And the protein structures, the spike protein, are still identifiable as Omicron. So there you go. You heard it here first, Omicron XE. Will it take off? Will anything happen? I'm not sure, just because there's a lot of immunity right now due to the Omicron. All right, I'll be back next time whenever there's something cool. So if you found this video helpful, I hope you'll hit share. Tell people about, don't panic, risk mitigation, do the best you can, be cool. See you next time. Bye, guys.